Ruchiga, Runyoro, and many other Ugandan languages. Contact us on 0756 174 168 for more information.
Tonight in News at 8, Uganda has established embassies and consulates across the Middle East that are on standby to support nationals should the security situation deteriorate. State Minister for ICT Kabyanga assures Ugandans in the Middle East amid the ongoing Israel-Iran war.
We are ready at any time to give any assistance to Ugandans who are there who will require that assistance. If it gets worse, we shall even reach a point where we shall evacuate our countrymen.
Also tonight, court adjourns bail application for NUP Sebufu. Prosecution seeks more time to respond.
The state is trying to do is to demoralize us so that we don't return, so that we say this matter here will not see the final end of it. Let's move on to other things. But colleagues keep coming and we want to appreciate them for fighting for the rights of fellow Ugandans. What's happening here is very problematic because the state is saying they had an excuse initially 2 weeks ago. They said we don't see these documents or the sureties on the system. Now they've had those documents for 2 weeks.
And in international news, Israel-Iran war. Israel plays down fear of endless war, widens scope of operations.
Brought to you by
Centenary Publishing House, the leading publishers of prayer and hymn books since 1977. Among them we have Ateso, Luo, Runyankole Ruchiga, Runyoro, and many other Ugandan languages. Contact us on 0756 174 168 for more information.
And in our stories tonight, the government of Uganda has assured Ugandans living and working in the Middle East of their safety and continued support amid escalating regional tensions. This comes as 14 Ugandan students in Iran seek government assistance while the ongoing conflicts disrupt international air travel, leaving several travelers stranded in Dubai. We take a look.
Speaking today, Godfrey Baruku Kabyanga, the Minister of State for ICT and National Guidance, said that Uganda has established embassies and consulates across the Middle East that are on standby to support nationals should the security situation deteriorate.
And we are ready at any time to give any assistance to Ugandans who are there who will require that assistance. If it gets worse, we shall even reach a point where we shall evacuate our countrymen.
The minister revealed that about 14 Ugandan students currently in Iran have already requested assistance. He confirmed that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is actively handling the matter to ensure their safety.
So far yesterday, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has already informed us that there were about 14 students in Iran who wanted immediate assistance, and they are working on that.
He further advised any Ugandan in the Middle East in need of support, including those with expired passports or visas, to immediately contact the nearest Ugandan embassy or consulate for help.
So all Ugandans who are in those countries, let them be in close touch with our embassies there, so that if there is any assistance that they need, then the country is ready to assist them. Because it is our sole responsibility to ensure Ugandans are safe wherever they are.
Minister Kabyanga noted that the ongoing tensions involving Iran, United States and Israel have had widespread global effects. He expressed hope that democratic efforts will restore stability in the region.
Just as you have said, yes, it will have global impact on so many things. However, we have nothing we can do now. We just pray that the situation normalizes.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Internal Affairs has acknowledged that the conflict has disrupted air transport operations. The ministry spokesperson Simon Peter Mundei said that aviation routes have been affected, impacting both departing and return flights.
It is going to affect everybody. Well, it is affecting. The other day, there were flights that were supposed to leave in Entebbe to go to UAE, for instance, to go to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, but they were denied their airspace, so they returned.
Monday explained that contingency plans are being implemented to assist passengers whose flights failed to reach their intended destinations due to the escalating tensions.
In this circumstance, what happens? What does the immigration system read? We have cleared you in our system and stamped you out to UAE, and in the actual sense you have not dropped to the other side. You will return to immigration. We shall cancel that record.
He also confirmed that several tourists and other travelers have been stranded in Dubai as a result of flight disruptions.
And on Flight Dubai, we are required to bring back their passports to immigration for those departure stamps and departure records cancellation, so that we edit you out of the system.
Authorities continue to monitor the situation and advise Ugandans abroad to remain vigilant and maintain regular communication with diplomatic missions. Government says it remains committed to ensuring the safety and welfare of all Ugandans abroad as the Middle East situation continues to unfold.
And most other countries, because Dubai, as you know, is an international hub for so many destinations.
Julius Mhomza, Church of Uganda Family TV, News at 8.
Now, as regional tensions in Iran continue to rise, concerns have emerged about the potential impact on fuel prices in Uganda. The Uganda National Oil Company Limited, UNOC, has reassured the public that the country's fuel supply lines remain secure. Now, the company emphasized that robust contingency measures are in place to safeguard against any disruptions, ensuring stability in fuel availability and mitigating risks to the local market. We have the report.
Tensions in Iran are escalating and Uganda's fuel prices are bracing for impact. The conflict threatens to disrupt global oil supplies, sending prices soaring worldwide. Iran's threat to block the Strait of Hormuz, a critical oil shipping route, has already pushed global oil prices upward. Uganda, a net importer of refined petroleum products, is closely monitoring the situation.
Following the recent reports of the situation in the Middle East and concerns about, possible disruptions within the global petroleum supply routes, at UNOC, we are working closely with our partner, Vitol, to make sure that we mitigate these disruptions as much as possible, but also see how best we can get enough product into the country. As the situation unfolds, we are monitoring the situation with our partner.
The Uganda National Oil Company assures Ugandans that fuel supply lines remain intact and contingency plans are in place to mitigate any disruptions. With scheduled fuel cargo deliveries for March on track, UNOC expects pump prices to remain relatively stable in the short term unless global crude oil shorts intensify.
We are also using this opportunity to reassure the public that there should be no cause for alarm. We are doing whatever it takes and putting in the measures that are needed to ensure that there's uninterrupted supply of petroleum products in the country. Just to let you know, we have our storage capacity, storage tanks in Jinja, which are going to support us during this period. But more importantly, is to let you know that we still and are still receiving vessels with fuel products for us to consume as a country. So there is no cause for alarm. There shouldn't be cause for alarm, and we want to make it clear that we are working over the board or over and over to make sure that we have supply within the.
However, prolonged conflict could lead to higher fuel prices, affecting transportation costs and inflation. Uganda's inflation rate is highly sensitive to global commodity shocks. From border riders to traders, people are worried.
Kitufu utaruga tukusa kubanga amafuta je gasinga okuba. Amafuta we gali nyeri nga tegakyatambula kujja wano ate kati bagamba. Newe gadde gayita okujja okumpi kati bagenda gayisa wano. Kati kitegeeza ayita amafuta ebadde egula 15,000 egenda kweyongera okulinnya. Naye nga gye tusaba gavumenti ali tukwatidde ko beeyina yaterekako eterekwa esalewo n'ebbeeyi entuufu erina okubeera katale kubanga bw'enaasalawo amafuta tegajja kupaaluka nnyo naye bw'etaasalewo amafuta gagenda kupaaluka nnyo.
Ffe tukosebwa tutya nti amafuta abadde ngagula kakaaga gagenda ku mutwalo nti ebintu ebibadde biva ebweru bivaawa era amafuta ge gatambuza byonna kitegeeza amafuta we galinnya buli kimu kirinnya ge gatambuza ensonga zonna watali mafuta tetusobola kubaawo.
Voices of concern ripple through the streets, with some exploring alternatives like solar energy and electric vehicles.
Abasajja bo balwana bye balwana ffe tujja kubugira ekiwe kinaatuka eseera ne bamaliriza ebyabwe eddiru zaabwe ne ziggwa embeera eneeterera mu nteeka.
Omuntu abadde akozesa liita 3 olunaku kitegeeza agenda kuba akozesa liita 2 kitegeeza ne gavumenti eba tekyafuna musolo bulungi naye bwe gaba amafuta gaba nga gali wansi nga ga 15,000 nga bwe gali katugambe kuba kati yo yalemera mu 15,000 nsobola okukozesa liita zange 3 nnyo olunaku naye kati bwe ganaba mu liita nga ya nusu kanaana mutwalo kitegeeza ngenda kukozesa liita 2 gavumenti naye omusolo eba tekola ki tegufuna nga ebadde gufuna luli mu butubu bwagwo.
Wars affect fuel prices in Uganda by driving up global crude oil costs, increasing shipping insurance premiums, and weakening the local currency, all of which push pump prices high. As of March 3, 2026, the situation remains fluid, and experts warn that prolonged tensions could have far-reaching economic impacts. John Baptist Ahumza, Church of Uganda, Family TV News at 8.
Now moving on, the Uganda Railways Corporation faced rigorous questioning today from the Committee on Commissions, Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises (COSASE) over gaps highlighted in the Auditor General's 2024-25 report. Now at the center of the scrutiny was the Kampala-Malaba Railway Rehabilitation Project, where concerns were raised about proceeding without a comprehensive design report. While URC defended its approach, citing a presidential directive, lawmakers emphasized the need to follow due process to ensure transparency and accountability. We have more.
The Uganda Railway Corporation appeared before the Committee on Commissions, Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises (COSASE) today to respond to issues raised in the Auditor General's 2024-2025 report. As Uganda aggressively rehabilitates and upgrades its railway network to boost both cargo and passenger transport, key projects include the Kampala-Mukono, Tororo-Gulu and Malaba-Jinja lines. Concerns were specifically raised about the Kampala-Malaba project, which reportedly lacks a detailed design report, prompting questions about the decision to proceed without it.
Across the border, which is the Malaba-Kampala, came about, where now our network became a bottleneck. Because of the condition of the line, we were suffering several derailments and capsizements of the rolling stock, and so through bilateral engagements, it was agreed that the contractor that had done the work across the border in Kenya is allowed to proceed to do similar improvements across the border in Uganda. And so because of the nature of the intervention and how it came about, a detailed design wasn't done because these studies normally take within 6 months to 1 year.
The Uganda Railway Corporation engineer explained that there was insufficient time to complete the design details, so they relied on the contractor who was appointed under a presidential directive due to bilateral agreements.
And so the time for this intervention, the design wasn't there. So what we based on were our own assessments of the condition of the line, where we do periodic. Yes, it is, Honorable Member, because the question I think was on the absence of the design. That's the question I had.
Despite the presidential directive, committee members questioned whether Uganda Railway Corporation had informed the president about the existing gaps in the construction plans.
Inquire whether the directive from the president stopped them from following the law.
Yes, Honorable Baka. In fact, what he was saying, presidential directives are not mechanical. You can say, I want ABC to be done. You as an engineer, you follow the procedure of doing it, isn't it? And I'm sure the data you are going to give us is not mechanical. sports in nature.
In response, the Uganda Railway Corporation Managing Director assured that no law was broken since they had followed the steps towards procurement in accordance to the presidential directive.
By doing direct procurement, we followed actually the PPDA regulations and the Act to the dot, so we didn't contravene any law. So we followed the direct procurement as guided by the President. Otherwise, Mr. Chairman, there is no way you can have a contract signed, because now we have to get everything possible to make sure that the contract is approved by Contracts Committee. The Attorney General had also to approve. We had to display, everything. We had to follow the right procedures for the procurement process.
Despite its justification, the corporation was condemned for not following due process and instructed to adhere to it.
If you're pressed to do a project under pressure, are you going to continue, doing projects without designs?
Yes. Mr. Chairman, that is why I had asked, what are you following to implement? Whether it was an emergency, whether it was a presidential directive, how are you implementing? What are you following? Are you just, what are you following? Whether it was done in 1 week, but something must have been done for you to follow. You don't just implement because it's an emergency.
East Africa is currently undergoing a major rail overhaul, highlighted by Tanzania's expansion of its electrified standard gauge railway SGR towards Mwanza, Uganda's Malaba-Kampala SGR launch, and Kenya's efforts to extend its SGR from Naivasha to the Uganda border, aiming to create a seamless regional trade corridor.
Now elsewhere, the Ministry of Internal Affairs has clarified guidelines for Ugandans traveling to visa-free countries, including entry requirements, passport classifications, and associated fees. Speaking at the Uganda Media Center, Ministry spokesperson Mr. Simon Peter Mundei explained that while some nations allow visa-free entry, travelers may still need to book residence and return tickets, and passports must have at least 6 months validity. We have more details.
The Ministry of Internal Affairs has clarified that visa-free travel allows Ugandan passport holders to enter certain countries without a visa.
So I'm here to lay my clarification in as far as traveling to visa-free countries is concerned. Now, we have two types of travels. The first one is travel to visa-free countries.
Speaking to journalists at the Uganda Media Center, Ministry spokesperson Mr. Simon Peter Mundei explained that Class 1 travel refers to visa-free countries where travelers must book both accommodation and return tickets to qualify for entry. These countries include Malaysia, Bahamas, Botswana, Burundi, Comoros, Eritrea, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Gambia, Fiji, Ghana, Hong Kong, among others.
Now, even the visa-free countries, we have two categories among the visa-free countries. We have got the visa-free country where you don't need to apply for visa. All you have to do is you book your hotel where you are going, and then also buy a return ticket, and you are good to go.
He added that Ugandan travelers must hold passports with at least 6-month validity and stay in these countries for periods ranging from 1 week to 90 days, with an extension subject to the host nation's regulations. He also advised that some visa-free countries require an application for entry, although these are granted at no cost.
Two requirements. You need a return air ticket. This is a must, compulsory. And then you also need hotel booking where you are going, and you are good to go. Now, on arrival at the airport, you are required to provide a passport which must be at least 6 months validity. You provide your passport, and a stamp is given at the airport.
On the issue of passports, Mr. Mundei noted that Uganda issues different categories, including ordinary, service, and diplomatic passports, which are provided by immigration at a cost of Uganda shillings 250, 400,000, and 500,000 respectively.
Now, that is the ordinary passport, blue in color, 48 pages for every Ugandan. The second type of passport is known as service passport. And as the name suggests, service is for people who are serving either in government, people in some service.
He cautioned Ugandans against using brokers for passport services, noting that the application process is straightforward and accessible to all.
I would like to take this time and this opportunity to warn passport applicants of the brokers. It is an easy experience. Do not fall prey by going to third parties, because it is, you can actually use your mobile phone. All you have to do is buy some data and apply for a passport.
Mr. Mundei read a statement refuting alleged comments by the State Minister of Internal Affairs, General David Muhoozi, which reportedly insulted the President and the Chief of Defense Forces while inciting Ugandans. He emphasized that these claims are fabricated and should be treated with contempt.
We have been seeing some social media posts depicting very false and malicious claims attributed to the Minister of State, Minister of Internal Affairs, General David Muhoozi.
Well, we do hope that the message is very clear enough to you. For those who might want to use a broker, you have been make sure that you stand warned, because it is easy actually to apply. Well, moving on, let us listen in from the Archbishop. Archbishop's Moment. Sponsored by Uganda Christian University, a center of excellence in the heart of Africa. Join the UCU experience now. And
St. John's Wakiso Secondary School, where faith meets education.
Either to believe every spirit. They quickly trust every spirit. They quickly follow every spirit. Every teaching which comes by, now I belong here. Now, we have so many prostitutes in our church who are prostitutes in the Christian circles. They are here and they are here. They keep on going around, so they are prostitutes in a way. The message is, believe not every spirit. Believe not and trust not every spirit. Follow not every spirit. John calls for evaluation of the teachings we get. Why is John calling the church to test spirits? Why is it important to test? Why is it important to examine these teachings? They oppose the message and mission of Jesus Christ. They oppose it. Believe not and trust not every spirit. Follow not every spirit.
Archbishop's Moment. Sponsored by Uganda Christian University, a center of excellence in the heart of Africa. Join the UCU experience now. And
St. John's Wakiso Secondary School, where faith meets education.
Indeed, believe not in every spirit, but in all that, ask the Holy Spirit to give you a spirit of discernment. Well, that's the simple message for tonight. We are going for a short commercial break, but do stay tuned. We'll be back in our second segment with more stories. Welcome back from the short commercial break. You are still watching News at 8. Now tonight on Fast and Reflect, Reverend Emmanuel Koboy, Provincial Youth and Students Ministry Coordinator, reminds Christians that fasting is not a public display but a personal encounter with God. He emphasizes that for fasting to be meaningful and acceptable, it must be done with the right heart, rooted in prayer, repentance, and an intimate connection with God. True fasting, he says, is not about appearance or routine, but about sincere devotion and spiritual renewal. Join us as we fast and reflect.
I just want to point out that number one, fasting must be done with the right heart. God looks at your heart, not your outward show. Like we read a few days ago in Matthew chapter 6, from verse 16, that Jesus warned against looking for public attention as you fast. Fasting should not be for show. Fasting is for intimacy. And number two, Jesus encourages us to be humble, fast in humility, not to boast and show that now you're fasting and what. When you are fasting from the heart, there needs to be an element of being humble as you seek the Lord, seeking God's approval and not human praise. As you seek God with your heart, you must realize that God looks at your inside. You remember when God was choosing the next king of Israel, and he asked Jesse, bring all your sons. And in Jesse's mind, Jesse said, let me bring this, a firstborn, a very tall, handsome, big. When Jesse brought the first one, he said, not that one. Jesse said, maybe the second one. He brought another one. God said, no. He brought another. Then he brought all of them, and they said, God said, is there another one? Then Jesse said, there is another cowboy who is in the field, is grazing the cattle. Then he said, go and bring that one. When David killed, and David came before the presence of the Lord, God confirmed that this is the one. He was smelling from cow, when you're in the farm. He was cows, sheep. When he killed, his outward appearance was not as presentable as for his other brothers who were fresh, clean. And so, God looks at your heart as you fast. Don't focus on the outside. Focus on your heart. And your heart should be the number one force that heads into the sessions we have. So that you are at work and you say, let me pray. Let it be happy. Whether you are at home, you say, let me sing and pray. Have to be a heart issue. Whether you are at your workplace, whether you are away at school, it should be a heart issue. And so God has reminded us these three things. Number one, prayer, fasting, and praying must be done with the right heart and mind. Number two, God has reminded us that we must not focus on showbiz. Fasting is more than showbiz. Fasting is seeking God with your heart. Number three, God has reminded us that humility and seeking God's approval should be the number one driver of the fast. May God bless you as we seek the Lord during this season. Thank you.
And yes, that has been our Fast and Reflect episode for the day. Now, of course, if you want to watch more of this, make sure that you do watch News at 8 here during the Lent season. And of course, as we move on, the world gears up to mark International Women's Day on March the 8th, Women in business are being encouraged to embrace savings and credit cooperative organizations, commonly known as SACCOs, as a reliable pathway to accessing affordable capital and accelerating startup growth. Now, senior businesswoman owner Maxon Schools and Rising Star coach Hajara Bashir says SACCOs provide an accessible and community-based financing option for both aspiring and established entrepreneurs who often face difficulties securing loans from traditional banks. Rita Nandera has the report.
As the commemoration of International Women's Day draws closer, attention is being directed towards the economic empowerment of women and barriers that still hinder their progress. Several women who have made strides in the business sector cite limited access to affordable financing as one of the biggest challenges affecting their growth. Many aspiring women entrepreneurs continue to struggle to secure capital from the controversial banks due to strict requirements, collateral demands, and high interest rates, factors that slow down the expansion of their enterprises. However, SACCOs and credit cooperative organizations are increasingly emerging as a practical and community-driven solution to this challenge. Senior businesswoman and Rising Star coach Hajra Bashir emphasizes that women must take advantage of the SACCOs to grow their startups, strengthen their financial independence, and build sustainable businesses that contribute to national development.
The growing number of successful women today, many women still face serious problems that limit their full participation in growth, most especially in business. Because when you consider business here in Uganda, you find that women face the problem of limited, they have little capital, let me say. They have little capital and you find them struggling with secure loans. And at the end of it, you find that they are being challenged. Still on top of that, women find it a bit hard.
Hajira is also calling on the women, leaders and parents to intentionally equip young girls with practical and entrepreneurial skills to prepare them for the future economic independence and national development.
It is very important because when we consider the world now, or the generations now, this is extremely important because it shapes how they think. You know, when it comes to girls, we need to be on them in all ways. This thing shapes them how to think, how to make decisions, and how to build their future.
She further calls for the full implementation of the existing laws addressing gender-based violence and noting that many policies remain on the paper. She stresses that the need for stronger enforcement, particularly to protect the young girls in rural areas and vulnerable women, urging authorities to translate commitments into tangible action.
When we consider people in the village, there is a way they have their they have their thinking, let me say, that at times getting a girl married at 14, 16, it is not weird to them because at times they don't even consider education as the key. But when you come this way, you find that parents are struggling to see that their children, their girls, finish all the levels of education. So the problem we have with parents in the village, that at times if they get a man with money, they end up forcing the children, the girls, to get married. However much these girls at times might not be willing, but through the force of the parents, they end up messing out and get married, which affects their future. And what can the government do about that? Here, when we talk of gender-based violence, it remains a serious social challenge. But government, At times, government plays the biggest role in protection, in preventing, and bringing justice. But here in Uganda, already we've made a certain progress through the laws, the national programs, through stronger presentations on TVs. But the problem is people don't implement.
Now moving on, the president of the Democratic Party Women's League, Honorable Sarah Adong, has rallied women across Uganda to actively participate in the upcoming Local Council 1, Local Council 2 and Women Council elections. Speaking at the party headquarters ahead of this year's International Women's Day celebrations, Adong urged women not only to commemorate the day, but to step forward and take up leadership positions at the grassroots level. We have more.
As Uganda prepares to commemorate International Women's Day this Sunday at Kololo Ceremonial Grounds, the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development has announced the 2026 theme, Scaling Up Investment to Accurate Access to Justice for All Women and Girls in Uganda. The theme underscores the need to strengthen legal protections and increase resources to advance gender justice. Honorable Sarah Adong challenged the government and the Electoral Commission to grant transparency, strengthen civil education, and impact meaningful electoral reforms ahead of the upcoming grassroots polls. She emphasized the significance of the forthcoming Local Council 1, Local Council 2, and Women Council elections, describing them as a critical platforms for grassroots leadership and community representation.
The Women Council elections. First of all, I want to make a call to all our branch leaders and the branch chairpersons and the women chairpersons at the grassroots to be alert. As a party, we are very committed to seeing that we also field candidates across.
Honorable Sarah Adong expressed concern over delay by the Electoral Commission in announcing a clear election date, criticized the lack of adequate civil education, and questioned the continued use of line-up voting method instead of a secret ballot system.
At this kind of election, I thought we said no to it. If people were able to do secret ballot, what is wrong with this one also doing secret ballot?
Adong further raised concern over the reported 58 billion shillings budget for the Electoral Commission, urging that transparency and accountability must be prioritized.
I want to display my biggest disappointment to the Electoral Commission and the government of Uganda. Up to now, a concrete date has not been set for this election.
Despite her criticism, she reaffirmed that the Democratic Party will participate in the elections while continuing to push for reforms.
So we are saying we are going to go into the process on the condition that things have to change really in this century.
Turning to the International Women's Day, Adong referred the theme announced by the Ministry of Gender and Labour Social Development on scaling up investment to improve access to justice for women and girls. She noted that many women in Uganda still face barriers to justice, education, healthcare, and economic opportunities.
So we cannot sit and say we are commemorating or celebrating the International Women's Day. What are we even celebrating anyway? And for me, this is a question I'm putting forward before the Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development, Honorable Betty Amoy. We are celebrating International Women's Day. We are commemorating that day. But have we really achieved the justice we are talking about as per the theme?
Adong raised concern over gender-based violence, limited legal aid, and the increase of commercialization of education. She also urged local leaders to combat corruption in programs such as PDM and Women's Enterprise Funds, noting that grassroots women are often excluded. Adong encouraged women across political divides to contest for LC1 chairperson positions.
The Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development has looked into this quite very clearly. Issues to deal with the economic empowerment of women. Unless these embargoes and barriers are taken away, nothing is going to happen. The PDM, there's a lot of corruption happening in the districts. The District Service Commission, The young people cannot get jobs. One time in my district, someone was asked to pay around 5 million shillings before he or she was given a job. So if first of all, even getting tuition to take me to Makerere and the other universities like Chambogo is hard. I have struggled. My mother, for us, they say nguli. I don't know how you call it in Uganda, nguli. My mother and my father have brewed nguli, nguli and kwete. And has cooked for me anyoya. For some of you who know what anyoya is. And then she has sold anyoya for the rest of her life for me to go to school, to university. And then after graduating, in fact, even on graduation day, some people don't even have shoes to put on and clothes. The clan has to, you know. And then after graduation, you want me again to pay 5 million shillings, Banang.
As Uganda gears up for International Women's Day, the Democratic Party Women's League emphasizes that true celebration depends on women having equal access to justice, leadership and economic opportunities. With grassroots elections approaching, the message is clear. Women must not only commemorate the day, but also step forward to lead.
Gone are the days when people used to think Women's Day was about eating food and men staying at home to cook. No! In fact, on the Women's Day, women are supposed to cook.
Interesting message right there. Well, moving on, the bail application of John Mary Sebufu, a member of the National Unity Platform, has been postponed after the state requested more time to respond. Sebufu is charged with inciting violence, allegedly mobilizing individuals with intent to attack supporters of the NRM. And of course, our reporter was present in court and has more.
Sebufu appeared before the Nakawa Chief Magistrates Court presided over by Magistrate Sanula Nambozo, where he was further remanded. His legal team, including lawyers Judy Byamukama, Samuel Mulindwa Muyizi, Katotu Msime, Joel Senyonyi and others applied for bail. They argued that the accused has never been convicted of any offense, has a constitutional right to apply for bail, and that the court has full jurisdiction to hear and determine the application.
We own the right to apply for bail. Goes hand in hand with a constitutional presumption of innocence. And the right to apply for bail goes hand in hand with a constitutional presumption of innocence and Article 28, Clause 3A.
Tubadde mulundi gwa kusatu nga the Honorable John Mary Sebufu aleetebwa mu kkooti eno ng'era libetegefu okumusabira okweyimirira ng'amateeka bwe gagamba.
Judy Byamukama told court that Sebufu was allegedly arrested on January 14th and detained in an undisclosed location before being produced in court on Friday 6th, a delay he argued contravenes constitutional safeguards. He asked court to allow him to defend himself while out on bail.
Twesanze mu mata omuli omuntu gwe tunarekoderaga nti nno yatugunyizibwa nti era yali abuziddwawo wabweru w'amateeka nga mulimu na application ennamba yakolebwa okulaba nti avaayo gye baali bamukukumye. Ebyo byonna tubitadde mu maaso ga kooti.
Lawyer Samuel Mulindwa Muyizi submitted that the accused is an elected councillor for Nakawa 1 and has a known permanent residence, making him unlikely to abscond. He further argued that although investigations are ongoing, the accused has significant personal and political responsibilities and should not be unnecessarily detained.
So tetumanyi kyayagala kuteekateeka mu kuddamu kwe. Tulowooza kimenya eddembe ly'omuwawaabirwa.
Lawyer Katotu Msime presented 4 proposed sureties willing to stand for the accused, including residents from Nakawa and surrounding areas.
Bana tusuubira ebyo mu mateeka ebitunuulirwa, so si nsonga state zeetugambye nti eyagala kuziddamu. Tulowooza kibadde kwekwasa nga wetubuulira bannayuganda kati okweyimirira okutwala omuntu nga tanakweyimirirwa ye tuyita detention oba remand. Remand kati eri mu kweyambisibwa bantu kubeera nga babeera nga baservinga sentence.
Leader of opposition in parliament, Joe Senyonyi, argued the magistrate to release the accused from what he termed unjustified restrictions.
Firstly, to appreciate our colleagues on the defense team for being always available, because what the state is trying to do is to demoralize us so that we don't return, so that we say this matter here will not see the final end of it, let's move on to other things. But colleagues keep coming and we want to appreciate them for fighting for the rights of fellow Ugandans. What's happening here is very problematic because the state is saying they had an excuse initially 2 weeks ago. They said we don't see these documents or the sureties on the system. Now they've had those documents for 2 weeks.
Gutyo nasaba ayongerezebweyo ebbanga mwabaddamu ensonga ezo zitadde mu kooti. Tukimanyi.
The prosecution, led by Matahima Odong, informed the court that investigations are still ongoing and requested additional time to formally respond to the bail application. In her ruling, Magistrate Sanula Nambozo stated that while the accused is entitled to justice, fairness requires that all parties be given an opportunity to be heard.
We need now to establish, I need time, state is saying, to establish was this person abducted. Because you see the law says when you abduct somebody, hold them in incommunicado detention. The family doesn't know where they are. Lawyers don't know. That in and of itself is torture. For over 3 weeks. So the state is saying, I want time to first establish this. But the government that it represents is the one that was holding this person. In court, we filed an application for a writ of habeas corpus to say, court, please order government to produce this person dead or alive.
She granted the prosecution more time and adjourned the matter to March 10th. Sebufu was consequently remanded to Luzira prison. After the session, we spoke to members of the defense team.
Constitution ewa buli muntu eddembe okusaba okwemirirwa. Ate constitution eragira kooti okusalawo ensonga mu bwangu naddala ku nsonga z'eddembe ly'obuntu.
Now for our international news tonight, the war between Israel and Iran is rapidly widening, with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu playing down fears of an endless war while also expanding operations across Tehran, Lebanon and the Gulf.
Israel's Prime Minister is playing down fears of a long war with Iran, even as the conflict widens across the Middle East. The war entered its fourth day Tuesday, with sirens blaring in Tel Aviv as Israel intercepted waves of Iranian missiles.
It may take some time.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Monday insisted the war will not drag on, despite projections from U.S. President Donald Trump that the fight could be open-ended.
I hear the people are saying, well, you're going to have an endless war here. You're not going to have an endless war. I said it could be quick and decisive. It may take some time, but it's not going to take years. It's not an endless war.
Israel has moved to expand its operations. Overnight, it deployed additional forces to southern Lebanon, taking what the military called defensive positions to protect civilians and key sites from Hezbollah. The army says the positions sit just inside the border, and Defense Minister Israel Katz has authorized taking more ground after Hezbollah fired rockets at Israel on Sunday. In Tehran, Israel struck the compound housing the country's state broadcaster, while Iran continued its own attacks. Saudi Arabia says 2 Iranian drones hit the U.S. embassy in Riyadh, while Iran's Revolutionary Guard claims it attacked a U.S. airbase in Bahrain. Washington is yet to comment on either strike, but U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio warned Monday that more force is coming.
They're suffering a tremendous amount of damage. The hardest hits are yet to come from the U.S. military. The next phase will be even more punishing on Iran than it is right now. We will do this as long as it takes to achieve those objectives.
Rubio did not rule out the possibility of a U.S. ground deployment, though he said current goals, destroying Iran's missile launch and manufacturing capabilities, could be achieved from the air. The fighting began with U.S. and Israeli strikes that killed Iran's supreme leader on Saturday. Since then, the U.S. says it has hit more than 1,200 Iranian targets, and 6 U.S. service members have been killed in Iranian retaliatory attacks. Amid the chaos, Kuwait accidentally shot down 3 U.S. fighter jets, though all crew members survived. But the war is rippling far beyond military fronts. Dubai's airport remained closed for a 4th day, stranding tens of thousands of passengers. Oil prices and global shipping rates have surged after attacks near the Strait of Hormuz, a choke point for 1/5 of the world's crude.
Well, that's it from our international news. Now let us have a recap of our news headlines.
Headlines brought to you by
Centenary Publishing House, the leading publishers of prayer and hymn books since 1977. Among them we have Ateso, Luo, Runyankole Ruchiga, Runyorotoro, and many other Ugandan languages. Contact us on 0756 174 168 for more information.
Tonight in News at 8, Uganda has established embassies and consulates across the Middle East that are on standby to support nationals should the security situation deteriorate. State Minister for ICT Kabyanga assures Ugandans in the Middle East amid the ongoing Israel-Iran war.
We are ready at any time to give any assistance to Ugandans who are there who will require that assistance. If it gets worse, we shall even reach a point where we shall evacuate our countrymen.
Also tonight, court adjourns bail application for NUP Sebufu. Prosecution seeks more time to respond.
The state is trying to do is to demoralize us so that we don't return, so that we say this matter here will not see the final end of it. Let's move on to other things. But colleagues keep coming and we want to appreciate them for fighting for the rights of fellow Ugandans. What's happening here is very problematic because the state is saying that they had an excuse initially 2 weeks ago. They said we don't see these documents or the sureties on the system. Now they've had those documents for 2 weeks.
And in international news, Israel-Iran war. Israel plays down fear of endless war, widens scope of operations.
Brought to you by
Centenary Publishing House, the leading publishers of prayer and hymn books since 1977. Among them we have Ateso, Luo, Runyankole Ruchiga, Runyorotoro, and many other Ugandan languages. Contact us on 0756 174 168 for more information.
And of course, with that, it is a wrap for our News at 8 bulletin. We do want to say thank you to the news team, thank you to Ivan in the control room, but most importantly, thank you to our dear viewer who watches us every day here on Church of Uganda Family TV. My name is Hope Nyongereza and I wish you a good night.